Hey everybody, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Paul. How's it going?
Not too bad. Yes, you are Paul. And Paul, you and I, well-known Avengers fans on the internet. Well, guess what? We're probably going to annoy a lot of Avengers fans, not just with thumbnails and titles, but actually with some of the content, because we're going to talk about why the Thunderbolts, who recently released what I think is the best commercial that came out during the Super Bowl. It's definitely the best trailer that's come out around that time because so few did. But Thunderbolts, put simply, Paul, maybe the Avengers we need right now. I'll steal a little bit from Dark Knight there. You know, they're the Avengers
Yeah,
we
yeah,
need
yeah.
right now. That's who they are. And I think we can go through why that is in this episode. But I'd love people watching live to shout out why we're wrong. But if you're watching this in the future, please feel free to rage comment all you like.
Yeah. So the Thunderbolts, yeah, it's going to be an interesting movie in the franchise, especially since recently we've had like such a kind of mixed bag. So like
Yeah.
Thunderbolts seems like it's going to be a really good one, but yeah, they're an Avengers type team.
Yeah. And not to, I'm not going to give any spoilers away. Paul, you haven't seen Captain America Brave New World either, have you?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
Well, right now, and I'll start actually using some of our imagery. If I can find it, there it is. Captain America Brave New World with good old Harrison Hulk is out in cinemas as we speak. I hope it's going to be good. Reviews so far have been mixed, is a fair way to
Yeah.
put it. And I think that casts the first stone for the point that I'm kind of pushing here most of all, Paul. And you feel free to disagree at any point. That we shouldn't rush to the Avengers, and we can't rush to the Avengers simply because, like, Sam Wilson is Captain America right now.
Yeah.
Falcon is Captain America. You've got to get people to actually accept him as Captain America before you even start talking about him being an Avenger again. You got to take your time and build up to it. And with Robert Downey Jr. in the future being, coming back as Doom, the Avengers has to be much further down the line.
Yeah, if you think about how long it took them to assemble the original Avengers, which is each individual film out and stuff like that, and also some sequels, which goes, yeah, it took a while. And with the Thunderbolts, it's kind of already done the legwork with some of the kind of established characters. So it's already kind of done what the Avengers have done in the past, but has now done it with a kind of like an alt team kind of thing.
Exactly. And if we let's take a little stroll down memory lane. The genius of, because at the time people were like, "Oh, the Avengers, it worked. How did they get that to work?" And you've just described it, Paul. It took time. It took doing making great movies, and then we have the famous DCEU shortcut speed run that didn't work to Justice League.
Mhm. Yeah.
Marvel could easily make the mistake of thinking, well, the Avengers is our big marquee thing. We're going to have to get back to the Avengers as soon as we can. Captain America Winter Soldier was fine, but Civil War was Avengers 2.5. We're making Avengers style movies even when they're not called Avengers and blah blah blah. Yeah, great. But the public consciousness would get building people up there, like you say. The Thunderbolts are out there. They've been on Disney Plus shows. There are other characters in other things. I think the
Mhm.
Bucky Barnes character, Winter Soldier, is extremely important, and so is Yelena Belova. But really, if somebody told me that they were coming out with Avengers really, really soon, like really soon, I would probably be worried to death because there isn't enough time. Whereas there was a little thing called Guardians of the Galaxy, Paul.
Mhm.
Remember it?
Yeah.
Completely wacky, completely different. It was the soundtrack of the MCU, man.
Yeah.
Made us all believe that you could have cool and groovy music in your already amazing MCU,
Yeah. It was the stylized one.
and it's gone. Like
Um,
I don't care what people say about. Oh well, you know how they ended Guardians 3. There's a new team. Blah, blah. Guardians of the Galaxy, for all realistic purposes right now, is 10, 12 films away before we start talking about Guardians again. Really, what do you reckon?
yeah. I probably think it's a little bit sooner than that, but like Yeah, since right now at this point we haven't heard anything about any kind of projects. We have heard of Chris Pratt possibly coming back as Star Lord, but like that's rumors, kind of thing. There hasn't been any kind of established timelines or anything. Essentially, yeah, it's essentially the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of hole that's been left in our lives since Guardians 3 can be filled by the Thunderbolts. And the Avengers hole right now can also be filled by the Avengers or by the Thunderbolts. Because as you were
Exactly.
saying, they took their time. Actually, in the Avengers, the only characters in which they introduced us to for the main team was actually only the Hulk and Hawkeye. They're the only two characters, and Hawkeye we had seen previously in Thor
Yeah, yeah.
a little bit. So like with Thunderbolts, we know all these characters. They're introducing one slash two characters possibly.
Well,
So like
they're
so
they're
like
definitely introducing two characters. One of them being a one, possibly slash two.
yeah.
Um,
So but it means that like as you said, it means that they have a they've a, there's a hole to fill there, and
yeah,
they've already established essentially a type of there's a specific kind of like I guess quip kind of thing going on between certain characters within this movie and also within their respected TV shows and movies that they've already been in.
yeah.
That they are slowly filling the whole of the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of humor and stylization a bit. So they kind of it's a really interesting kind of like twofer for one, you know?
Exactly. And it's you said something because, folks, if you don't watch the show, you should. Because Paul says really, really insightful and clever things and just buries them, as part of his conversation. And you hinted in a throwaway comment in one of our previous videos, maybe Marvel should are doing, a bit more standalone type things that can exist a little bit more on their own. And I think the Thunderbolts, although it will be, part of the MCU and will have a larger thing, having this kind of second flavor, having the misfits, the some of your side characters gathered together and doing something like a Thunderbolts can then be done around stories that maybe aren't, you know, super Thanos level. Although that's something that we got to talk about in a moment, so I don't want to bury the
Yeah.
lead too much in that. Can I just? Oh, sorry, go for it.
I was just going to say, yeah, because it's interesting them being kind of because this can be seen as a kind of a Deadpool light esque humor kind of film.
Yeah,
Like it's the middle zone because obviously they're ethically or morally questionable characters. So they're gonna have a little bit more kind of darker humor and a little bit more kind of I guess realistic humor. Like Deadpool, as in like a little bit more kind of X-rated. Kind of which goes humor. So like it's an interesting kind of like we've got the Avengers, which we will have to grow the team and see what they're gonna end up as.
yeah,
Then they've got the Thunderbolts, and then we got Deadpool. So we got this three kind of good spectrum of like humor where like everybody's gonna find a market or everybody's gonna find a team to kind of enjoy a little bit more. So that's another thing that I realized is the fact is that they are the middle ground kind of humor. They're dark but not too dark. They're
yeah.
not serious but not too serious. Where the Avengers more superhero-y.
I think between the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy leaving a gaping hole, whoever suggested the Thunderbolts is a genius. Whoever suggested this version of the Thunderbolts, how about we take what we have from movies and our Disney Plus, we front it with some of the really popular characters like Sebastian Stan, Oscar no- Oscar nominated actor, um,
Hmm.
Florence Pugh, Oscar. We're talking heavy hitters who've also really embedded themselves in the Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier character. It's been over a while, but from Black Widow, a movie that didn't do massively well, and a lot of people look dimly on. I think it gets too hard a time. Yelena Belova is fan favorite number one straight away. Like people love her. People love what Florence Pugh's done. That very mediocre Hawkeye series was really lifted massively by her showing up and the chemistry she had with Kate Bishop. Um, so, Paul, I just want to quickly talk about the team because there's something else that Thunderbolts can do, and that is close off a few things, but also, and this is not a spoiler warning. I don't know what's going to happen, but they can start killing people, and they can start
This
killing characters.
this is an interesting point because we had this conversation, or we had this a little bit over email, kind of thing, and I was just like, I'm gonna hold off on my view of this part,
Well,
but yes,
now's the time not to hold off because we're definitely talking about it right now. So if I was to, I'll tell you what, rather than using the little
you
red
go ahead.
pointer, how about we go through them one by one?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say, uh, Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, which
Hmm.
was Ant-Man 2 for a lot of people, is a character that didn't work for me. So I'll be honest, I'm putting my bias right out there. Didn't particularly enjoy, it wasn't a movie that's my favorite. Again, I don't hate on it as much as a lot of people. The Ghost character wasn't completely fulfilled in that movie either. So it makes sense, use her now. Absolutely, she could be interesting.
Yeah.
Do I think she's on the list of people who may have to sacrifice themselves to deal with certain things? I don't know if she's coming out of this one, Paul.
This is okay. So who else do you think?
Well, okay, then I was going to go person by person, but how about we just talk Ghost and Taskmaster? Because
Okay.
Taskmaster also horrendously badly used. I think there was a big miss in what they did with Taskmaster
Mhm.
in Black Widow. But now that they have, and you got the wonderful Olga Kurilenko, they're ready to rock and roll. I think rather than trying to save these two characters, I think they might try and use them up, for lack of a better term. Burn them out, light the candles full on. And I think there might be some heroic death here.
I think they're going to redeem those two characters.
Right. You think so?
Yeah, I think they're. I think so. I agree with you. In Ant-Man 2, Ghost was an unutilized kind of It was a 2D character, 2D villain character, kind of thing.
Sympathetic villain. And she, she was forgiven by the end of it, so to speak, or you understood her plight, I guess is the
They
way to
were
put it.
trying to do that.
Yeah.
I will say that they did that with a shoestring kind of plot.
Yeah, it was a bit
Um,
shit.
yeah, like I don't hate. Yeah, once again, like I think Ant-Man 2 was placed in a difficult position
Yeah, yeah.
within the release dates. I believe that it was slightly rushed for bigger stories, all this kind of things. But I think that I think that the ghost character is going to be redeemed in this. I think they're going to make she has more of people to kind of quip off and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and also hopefully they've taken more time to kind of fulfill the character a little bit. Taskmaster.
But just before we move on to
Okay.
Taskmaster, I have one last thing that I want to throw in why I don't think she's making it.
Hmm.
They may keep her around for a little while. Maybe. Maybe. But you're not getting your Kitty Pride. If your X-Men show up in the full MCU, you do not want to have overlapping powers ever. So her phasing kind of thing is going to be too close to other people's phasing kind of thing. And because she's not a fan favorite, and unless they can devote, remember, this is one movie with like 7 big names, plus there's somebody that we've got to talk about that they've definitely got to keep or do something decent with in a minute. Again, we'll keep burying that lead, but you'll see. Do you know what? We'll put a bet on now. I will give you, if she makes it through the movie, I owe you a fiver. If she comes out
Okay.
the far end. Um, and then Taskmaster, tell me why you're confident about her.
So I think Taskmaster will survive as well. Um, I think that there's a lot of potential to redeem that character for TV. So
Aha, the Disney
I
Plus of
don't
it all.
yeah, I think that this will be one of these uh they'll make them funny without obviously speaking, because like unless they're going to give them a speaking role, I don't know yet.
Mhm.
But the I think that they'll redeem this character simply or specifically for the TV level, because there's a
Interesting.
lot of it. There's a lot of kind of like with them redeeming Punisher, excuse me, Punisher and Daredevil and a couple of other ones. I do think the Taskmaster's a really good street level
Gotcha.
character that
Gotcha.
they can bring in. I do get your Kitty Pride and Ghost kind of thing, but we have characters who already like overlap a lot. In fact,
True.
Tends to overlap a lot with Captain Marvel. The only difference is essentially their power level. Like
Yeah.
that kind of like you
But
have a lot
yeah.
of
We got to
You
talk
have a
about him
lot
in a
of
minute on a
overlap.
whole other level, though. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see
well,
that.
the Sentry's not like Superman kind of
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I got you.
But
You know what? I'm not placing the bet on Taskmaster then, because you've convinced me that Taskmaster does have a utility for them in TV land,
hmm,
and I think you're right. If they do start trying to stack up and stack down, kind of street level to Avengers level, yeah, okay, okay. You've convinced me in that one. I got 5 down on the other one.
okay.
And that's it for me as far as not making it, though, because I think the ones they're really going to try and redeem, John Walker. I think John Walker, much to my chagrin, is probably going to be pushed. Um, just pushed. I think they're
Now,
going to try and save something that I'm not that interested in them saving.
now this is where we also disagree.
Excellent.
I think he might redeem himself in a tragic death.
Well, now, and
Yeah.
what makes you think they'll go that direction for him? Because they've already got too many people holding shields around the place.
That's one thing is as in they've not they the problem is that we've got which is Cap right now, but we've got Bucky Barnes, and everybody's just like, why isn't Bucky Barnes just Cap, kind of thing. You've already got essentially now this inheritance kind of line, I guess, would be bad.
Yeah.
That I think that Walker, because Walker's also wanted to be the hero.
Hmm.
So for a plot for a character kind of arc, it would be good to see him um die in a heroic way. Now, my
I hear
only
you. I hear you.
hashtag or like asterisk is they keep showing the baby, they keep showing his kid, kind of like in the trailers, which is the only part that I'm like,
Well,
they may not kill him off because of the child,
we've got pop culture
kind of
here
thing.
doing saying we better do a follow up to see who's right and wrong, and I'm down for that. I'm not putting any money on any more of these, but he says Walker will die. But I do love the actor. Yeah, Wyatt Russell convinced me when he did the Monarch series. Actually, that's what was my big turnaround on him. But here's one of the reasons I think they're going to push U.S. Agent further away from the Captain America of it all to give Valentina, aka I can't remember her name in Seinfeld, but Julie Louise Dreyfus. Everybody calls her Elaine. Elaine in Seinfeld. I think she may need staff, so to speak. I think he may become more and more tied to her because he was part of her introduction, and I think they'll probably bring him along because I don't know if they want Wyatt Russell, who is a name and is becoming more of a name, out of the MCU too quickly. Whereas can't say the same for Ghost. And I know Olga Kurilenko is awesome, and that's why I think maybe you've convinced me on the TV thing. I still wouldn't be sure that she makes it. But yeah, and I'm sorry for rushing this along, Paul. It's just we've got good ones to
Oh,
go. I'm interested to see what happens with the John Walker character, and that's a question I want to ask you. Are you actually genuinely interested in the John Walker character?
yeah, with
Okay.
I guess with my plot in my mind, I'm now
Oh,
interested.
see now that's there's. And sorry, my camera keeps freaking out.
Um,
That's very unfair. You're writing a better movie than they can make, and
we don't know
that's
that, but I'm interested in the character because it's interesting. I've always been interested in that character since they introduced him because it is always nice to see a character try to stand up to the image of Steve Rogers and fail
which you've
because
already got a whole Brave New World movie in the cinema right now, probably looking
well
into that.
well no I get that, but I more mean in the sense that like it shows that the position, and I don't mean even just the kind of mantle of Captain America or anything like that, but being that kind of like straight arrow, the rock in the storm kind of like person is incredibly difficult to have that kind of willpower.
Yeah,
Which is not which specifically having them pass the shields to which goes Falcon, and then have them essentially take it away from him and pass it on to US Agent, and then him immediately failing is showing that it's just like this is a hard position to have.
It's not all
You
about
know,
super serum or super soldier serum. It's about the content of your character.
yeah,
Paul, we're going to have to move on to what I think is going to be, and it's already with one movie, a firm favorite. I think David Harbour captured hearts, captured giggles, and it's just he's peeing charm all over the screen at all times. Like his Red Guardian is like a trailer bait. I don't know what the way to put this is, but like the trailers must have been writing themselves, and they're like, "All right, we need another comedy beat." What else did David Harbour say into a camera here?
he's a great. So his character is great because he's old Thor. He's
This,
like young Thor in the Avengers who says stupid stuff, and everybody has to react to that, kind of thing, which is fun. He's the mix of Thor and Drax. Like he's that kind of like happy-go-lucky, like super strong idiot character
yeah,
who's always he's always going to meld the group together really well because he's so happy. He's so happy
but
that like his whole like everything's gonna be good, we're gonna be heroes kind of like mentality is really, it's really heartwarming, especially
yeah,
within this kind of group, which is a lot of them already know what kind of person they are. They already know that they're kind of like they're not the most moral straight arrows that are around, but having this character who's just like, we can be heroes,
and
like
like
shoot that guy in the face,
you've,
kind of
but you've mentioned everybody, but you also have to say genius bit of work on their part in what they've done to make him the. This is the alternate version of Captain America insofar as he is a patriot. He believes, there's a whole angle in patriotism that they then show with him realizing that he wants to be a hero, not just a patriot, etc. So, like, I'm here for it. He's definitely making it through. I don't think we're on death watch for any of these other characters, but I think it'll be interesting to see, are they going to do are they going to be able to make him Drax in the sense of he's going to be more than comic relief enough that you'll see him beyond this, because everybody we're about to talk about after this, like Taskmaster, may end up in TV shows. John Walker may cameo in and out. I don't think you're seeing him on any. He's not getting his own movie, not getting his own show. I doubt. Not going to be an Avenger necessarily. Red Guardian, I'll be interested to see if he can be that loved, but also maybe serious enough in another way to live past this a bit further. Beyond TV and in the MCU proper.
yeah, fan self theory.
Mm-hmm.
There's a plot in my mind where he gets killed to essentially drive Florence Pugh's character even further into
Yeah,
trying to be a hero.
and
I'm not. That's a
I'm with you though, but having the father daughter relationship there is something they should not look past. And pop culture says he loves the Walker character. Hopefully, they can write him correctly. I hope so too. I really do hope so. I was left cold as to how they left it, which has made me not interested. I'm hoping they can turn that around. But you make a great point with Harbour. That's David Harbour on screen here, folks. Being a character actor for so many years, he knows how to bring so much to his role. I could not agree more. I think if for anybody to have his career path the way he has, it was like he was training to be the guy that we all need him to be today in every role he does now. So I'm absolutely happy for him. Paul, onto the biggins though. Yelena,
mm,
I've ordered it in so far as she comes up first because look, she is Black Widow now. She's the de facto Black Widow. Also, everybody knows I think Florence Pugh can do no wrong. I think she's incredible. I cannot see her not being, if they have the contracts in place, just a center stone of the MCU going forward. Like
yeah, yeah, she's Florence Pugh is an absolute like,
she's an Avenger. Like she's gonna
she's an
be.
Avenger, but she's an absolute powerhouse of an actor. So like,
Yeah,
you've got the really good chops there to be able to do as much as you want with the character. There's a lot of range to be able to have. That character has a lot of range as well, which is
yeah,
really, really good. I do think that she's going to be a pillar. She will be a future pillar of this thing, and coincide her with the person after this is
yeah.
incredible to do. I really feel that there's going to be a new relationship, and I don't mean romantic relationship. I mean a new friendship, like specifically close relationship
Yeah.
between which could her character and Bucky Barnes.
I agree. I agree. Do you know we could lose the rest of the episode on her, and actually I think we'll end up talking about her the least because it's such a no brainer that when I say the Thunderbolts are the Avengers we need right now, this is it. Complicated, but and I'm not talking dark Avengers here. I know a lot of people are going to get into what options the Thunderbolts could really mean, etc. I mean in the MCU for the void that has been left. And for the position that everything's in, and for the order of all, little, I think she is. If they can get her and her agent to sign up for the next 15 to 20 years, she could do everything from Young Avenger to Dark Avenger to bring in Haley Steinfeld, I think is the correct pronunciation. Sorry if I'm butchering it. You know, we can start seeing Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, and her, Yelena being the older person in that relationship, bringing people along, but also then being the younger person on a team, being the Black Widow on an Avengers, where she's she's calling it out in trailers already. She punches and kicks and shoots guns. She's not a superhero. It's limitless, and I'll shut the hell up now because you're right. We got to go on to the book, on to
Well,
rapidly
this
becoming my favorite actor in all of the MCU.
yeah, this is the relationship. This is a Hawkeye Black Widow relationship that I think is growing. Is the Winter Soldier and Florence Pugh's, which Elena's kind of character turning into. I think they're going to be a really good close working relationship, which is going to be real fun to see
Which would be
because we need that.
interesting because you had Steve Rogers, Captain America, and Black Widow on the run together, and there was a small kind of romantic friendship, is the way it was sort of played off of the what ifs. So yeah, it'd be a nice little parallel sister and brother best friend. But yeah, I think what they've done so far, and because Sebastian Stan can act the hell out of things, again, I hope they haven't contracted up to the end of time. Till you're 90, man, till you're 90. Um, I think you're looking at, with him and her, two pillars of the next three phases. So your next, take it from Iron Man to Endgame, take it from now to whatever that's going to be in 10 years. I think these are two people that are incredibly important. And that's why this is one of those movies where I think they'll do a good job in dealing with the fact, yeah, he killed Tony's parents. Spoiler. Um, it was in a film like 7 years ago. I think they'll deal with that and be like, okay, look, he has atoned. There's no more of this. Oh, he's the tarnished one. He's not as pure as everybody else. He was not. He was pure. He was not in control when he was not being pure. He's lived a little bit of darkness, but so has, like, Thor isn't beyond having had done some silly stuff when he was drunk or fighting somewhere across the universe. Most of these characters have a little bit of red in their ledger somewhere. I think this is going to be their chance to make him the leader, but also clean up his image to say, okay, from now on, you don't have to go, Bucky and Winter Soldier, they're great, but like, there is the whole murderous past thing. I think that's going to be forgotten now. It'll start being dealt with to be pushed into the background.
I think it's so integral to the character.
It's never
I,
going away. Like, it's not disappearing,
yeah,
but I don't think
I
it's going to
don't
be the focus forever.
I don't think I think there's always yeah I yeah I it depends on kind of I guess it to me it's so like as I said it's so integral to the character that I think it's a driving force for him
Mm-hmm.
that I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to go as far into the background as I think it's always going to be a very good source
Can
of motivation and
can I
stuff like
give a
that
parallel
for
and ask though? Like, Tony Stark was
Mhm.
annoyed that, like, his family business killed untold millions and destroyed millions of lives, essentially. Killed untold thousands. So one of the drivers for Tony Stark was to stop being, a screw up rich playboy, start taking things seriously, and start atoning for what he felt was bad in his past. They gradually moved away from that. It never went away, and it was always part of his core driving thing to do better and be better and to protect the world that he had already damaged, and that, you know, his family legacy. Do you think that that's where they could end up? That's the level of background I'm kind of talking about.
I don't know. I think with Iron Man, to me, his obsession of kind of moving away from weapons and like, I think his protecting the world became his new obsession.
Hmm.
Kind of thing where it's like it was a change over from, I no longer want to make weapons to I want to encase the world in armor. And I think that's where his obsession changed over. I don't think Bucky Barnes is going to let the fact that he was a weapon,
Yeah.
you know, go. So like I don't see that flipping over to some other
Oh, I'm
driving
not talking
force.
about him letting it go. I'm talking about the idea that the storylines aren't all going to be predicated on the idea of, well, he could never hold a shield. He was a murderer. Like, I think though we're rapidly getting towards those days where you could actually see him being in line to be holding a shield. I
I
think.
don't know. I don't. I feel that for the character to hold the shield, uh, the Falcon's character would have to fail so badly that they
Yeah,
would have to be like, we have no other choice. I just feel from that character's perspective, if he has the shield, it's not. I wouldn't. I guess for my view on the character, I wouldn't want him to hold the shield because I always feel that he's a better character because of his knowing that he won't be able to do it.
fair enough.
Kind of thing.
Fair
And
enough.
it's he's the only character who's self realization.
So, Paul, what we were talking about was Bucky, but I think we can both agree that they're gonna, if they have Sebastian Stan under contract, this is a future pillar of Marvel, a pillar already, I would say, a pillar since, but technically their third movie, really their second successful MCU movie, as people would think of it, um, or third actually was Thor after Iron Man, and then it was Captain America.
No,
Yeah,
it
it was
was
Captain America and then Thor, wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I think
Um,
so.
so the big one, Paul, that we've hinted away at, there's a guy called Bob in the trailers,
Yeah.
in the first teaser. And I want to pull up, I'll take him off screen because I want to go back to their posters. They're doing such a lovely job. So the Thunderbolts, he is, he's right in here. He's this little guy right at the back. Oops, sorry, that red arrow is disappearing. But you've got a little guy standing right at the back. Their other poster, if I can find it, again, everybody here's got guns and knives. There's Bob right over there on the left with a gun across his face, looking kind of squished. Paul, do you want to tell everybody what Bob's deal's going to be? Because they released it in that most recent trailer that there is a big shadowy figure, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and there's also a hero. As somebody can fly, Paul. Who is he?
Yeah, so Bob is actually Robert Reynolds. He is the Sentry. He is one of the most powerful characters within the MCU. He is the Superman character of he's like the counterpart to Captain Marvel. He is the Superman character. He has an interesting trait though. Um
Very significantly so, because this is what makes
yeah,
him very much not Superman.
yes. He has an alter ego to the Sentry and said, which is essentially Void, which is essentially a bad guy. So it's interesting, kind of. It's interesting to see where this kind of where they bring this character. And the comic books, it's kind of a mixed bag. Sentry and Void are the same person, but the good that Sentry does, Void tries to do something bad. There's this weird kind of balance thing. There's a lot more to the character as well in other comics. Obviously, so like it's going to be interesting for them to bring it forward into the MCU, which we talked about in one of our things about the success of MCU, with their comic book kind of like being able to bring it to the screen. So I'm interested to see how they make this character their own. Are they just going to go for the Void character, or are they going like as an are they going to do
I think there was a belt buckle.
Bob?
Bob and
Oh,
Sentry and Void, I think, are all showing up.
I see. My thing is, I think that I've because we haven't seen Sentry.
But that's the thing. I think somewhere in one of the trailers, I thought I caught like a symboled belt buckle that was really Sentry suit, if you
Okay,
know what I mean. I think.
Yeah, because that'd be interesting in the sense that having Bob essentially slowly reveal his powers, but then reveal himself as Void would be a really interesting kind of, and then having him maybe do something to bring the Sentry character in
Mm.
would be an interesting kind of turn instead of having the Sentry and then Void, having Void and then Sentry, kind of thing. But
And,
I don't know. Yeah,
and
it's
no,
it, it
I'm with you, and I think we gotta make sure there's a reason this is on topic, and I think weirdly, folks, we're talking about Thunderbolts as the Avengers we need right now. Brilliant to have an introduction of somebody like this who could not only be part of the team but also be the big bad. Um, Genius. It's a perfect thing for a Thunderbolts movie. It's a perfect thing for this. The Avengers aren't coming. This is what we've got, team. Because that's the trailer plays that out. The Avengers aren't coming. We're gonna
mm,
have to do with what we have, and at no point am I going to suggest that these are a Suicide Squad style thing because I don't think that's a good parallel. People make it all over the place, and I think it's missing the mark by quite a bit. But Bobo here, played by good old Bill Pullman's young man, I hope, Paul, this is where we have to get back to surviving and not. If they go with Void being the big bad, I hope they don't one and done this character. I hope that
yeah,
Marvel don't make the mistake of using what is both a hero and a villain up in one movie. That would be a disaster.
yeah. I do agree. There's an interesting introduction to Void, um, because we have a big bad sized hole right now within the Marvel universe that is slowly being filled by possibly being filled by other characters. But is
Yeah.
Void possibly one of the possible, like? See, that's the thing is, it could be, or even like, sorry, not the big bad, but having essentially the another big threat, and then having essentially our big bad, which we believe is going to be Doom. Um,
Yeah.
but we have introductions coming up of other characters.
Well, I'll call it because I stuck in the notes to you, Paul, and the way I put it was introducing Sentry slash Void and Galactus in 1 year gives Marvel's
Hmm.
big bads. It gives them big bads to distance themselves from Kang, which is another big bad they thought they were going to be using. All sorts of stuff happened that we can't be bothered wasting our time with right here. Long story short, Kang not happening.
Yeah.
That left a vacuum.
Hmm.
Now you've got possibly Void. Definitely got Galactus showing up in Fantastic Four. How
Hmm.
good or not, the Celestials are being they're dealing with the fact that there's a giant hand, head, and shoulders sticking out of
Yeah.
the earth in Captain America: Brave New World. I can't wait to see how they deal with that.
And a
Um,
vibranium source as well.
and they're bringing adamantium source. Actually, they're bringing in
Was
the
he
stuff.
adamantium or vibranium?
They're actually saying that they're going with adamantium in the movie. I heard that and
Hmm.
I was like, oh right. So now you've
Hmm.
got vibranium in Wakanda, and adamantium is now introduced through a celestial, which is interesting.
Hmm.
But long story short, Thanos is gone. They need their new
Hmm.
Thanos. They've announced Robert Downey Jr., but you can't have him. Well, you can. It would be unwise to have him show up as soon as they are showing him. They've got movies on the slate. Doomsday is coming. You can't just rush him into being the big bad, the big bad, the big bad. That's it. You can't do a quick Thanos. So this gives them a chance to do some big bads. They can pluralize their big bads at the moment. I think keeping Galactus away from things by having the Fantastic Four movie probably end, or at some point in the middle of it have a universe shift, a multiverse moment, whatever way you want to think about it. And maybe that's what gets us away from Galactus for a while so he can come back later. How the hell do you do that with Void if you introduce him here? Because I think it'd be cool if they do introduce very much Sentry. And Sentry is the one that spends the time controlling Void and possibly says, I've got to go to deal with, making sure I'm controlling Void here. Like, if that's how it ends. Accidentally kills, I don't know, to win me a fiver, let's say Ghost. Um, and the whole thing is then we're not killing off Void even as part of Sentry. We're not purging him. We're keeping that
Hmm.
going, but we're just putting them on the bench for when we need them to come back.
Yeah, no, I do think that at the end of this, they're going to, in any way, that the Sentry character Robert is very much he does hide
Mm.
kind of thing. He does go into hiding essentially and tries to live a normal life kind of thing within the comics. So I can see them doing that again within the end of this movie, as in him going off, like you
Yeah.
said. Um, the only thing is that, like, yeah, I do think that we have a couple of things that are coming up that might, like, you know, or a couple of movies that are kind of being rumored as well that he would show up in. Um, but there's the possibility of Siege, which is the big void kind of moment, kind of thing, which is another question of will they do it in the next phase or something. There's so much. Sorry, my brain is going completely
No, so
mental.
you've got Secret Wars, you've got World War Hulk, you've got all sorts of things
Yeah,
that could be happening.
World War Hulk is the key because
Mm.
yes, in the comic Century comes back for that.
Look, again, we're now into deep chat territory. I think,
Yeah,
to be fair, and Paul, can I speak for you in this? If I just say to Marvel through the lens, please, 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 don't make this a one and done and kill him off just because that's the easiest way to end the story. Because it's conceivable that they do. You would hope they didn't cast a new actor, especially in open, somebody who's on the ascendancy like this. I'm kind of hoping that they picked him on purpose because they think he can carry this role for years to come, as
yeah,
opposed to just another movie.
Lewis Pullman's really. I think he's going to be really good as both characters. Sorry, all
Yeah,
three characters.
all
I
three.
think he's
Yeah,
going to
all
be
three
good.
characters. Yeah.
I think he's going to be good as Sentry. I think he's going to be good as Robert, and I think he's going to be good as Void. So, like, it's going to be an interesting thing.
Do you think he could hang
Um,
out with Moon Knight? Maybe Moon Knight comes back. Oscar Isaacs gets another chance. They can have they
no,
can have a
but
two-person
Taskmaster could.
conversation with a full room.
No, but Taskmaster could hang out with Moon Knight.
Hey.
Um,
Well, look, I've thrown the Thunderbolts back up because I am fully believing. Like, Thunderbolts was a bit of a throwaway idea, I think, is the way a lot of people thought of it. I think this is now, for me, looking like the most genius move in this phase of Marvel by a long shot. More so than the Fantastic Four, more so than anything else they've done since kind of Endgame. I think Thunderbolts might be the key to the next. And I don't just mean that, Thunderbolts is the new Avengers. I mean, the idea that Thunderbolts and having a new way of approaching, like, Guardians not being there, Avengers not being there, doing something slightly different is a good thing for the MCU.
it's a good stepping off point. It's a good kind of like clean the slate kind of thing. And it's also interesting that we're talking about Thunderbolts, even though Captain America,
Is in the
you know,
cinema right
has
now.
is literally out pretty much this week, and
Yeah.
we're not talking about it as much. We're talking about Thunderbolts, which is already a damning. I can't wait to go watch it.
Yeah.
Brave New World is. I think it's going to be really fun. But yeah, you are right. We're all anticipating essentially Thunderbolts, and also the one weird thing as an MCU fan, it's been the first time in a while that I've actually been like, I really want to talk about this movie. There's a lot
Yeah.
of potential here. There's a lot of interesting moves and figures that are being placed in it and stuff like that. Like, I really want to talk about Fantastic Four, but Fantastic Four is its own standalone because of the time it's been placed in. It is its own standalone.
Yeah, it's closer to the idea of what it'll be like when we start introducing X-Men. It's like it's introducing Fantastic Four. It's standalone. It's out there. How's this all going to meld in? But in the MCU as we know it, I couldn't agree with you more. Since Endgame, there's been Guardians of the Galaxy and this, like Guardians 3, that have had me kind of sitting up in a chair going, oh, oh, gosh, I'm excited. It's the thing that makes me text Paul. If anybody's wondering, this is the sort of stuff that comes up, and I'm like, dude, we need to talk. Yeah, it makes you feel like a kid again back in phase one of the MCU when you were just so excited. Do you know they're doing Thor next? Oh my
Yeah.
god! Now it's like Yelena's back, Bucky's with her, Red Guardian's gonna be there. They're doing Thunderbolts. Man, this is gonna be nuts. There's an asterisk. What the hell?
Yeah.
It's the good old days. It's
Yeah, it's
15 years ago back again.
I also want to say that also it's a genius move to have Brave New World come out before Thunderbolts because we have Thunderbolt Ross as the president, which means that we're going to have an after credits scene, more than likely him maybe going, there was this idea of a Thunderbolts initiative,
I
you
can't say
know?
anything because somebody spoiled the post credit scene for me
Okay.
already. So I can't even say anything. Just,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, yeah. I'm down with it. I too. Just to be fair, and you know what? Let's end on this, Paul, if that's okay.
Hmm.
I think it's only appropriate for Anthony Mackie and for Captain. I'm excited for Brave New World. I'm going to go and see it tomorrow. Hopefully, Valentine's Day is an interesting time to launch the movie, since the biggest screen we have in the cinema that I go to isn't showing it. It's showing Bridget Jones, because that needs the good audio and the big screen. Like, what the hell? Um, yeah, I hope that we like it, Paul. I hope it's good and that the haters are just being haters for their hateful reasons. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be a landmark, but you know what? If it's another Black Widow where it's probably unfairly disliked at the time, but then you can kind of go, it wasn't all that bad, that'll be fine. I just hope and pray that Anthony Mackie and co get a fair shake from as many people around the world. Like, get a fair
Yeah.
go, you know?
I agree. As long as it's not, there's some being bad, some bad films. If we can go back to Age of Ultron, kind of where we're just like, nah, it wasn't great. It had its moments and stuff,
Yeah,
but it was like, if we can go back to that level for Brave New World, I think a lot of people will be happier.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
Kind of thing. And that's a bad sign that I'm like, Age of Ultron is a good middle benchmark to be able to aim for right now. Yeah, I
And with
agree. I
that,
think
yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
Paul, go for it.
No, I just think yeah, it's going to be an interesting kind of one. But I do want to say like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell.
Oh no, Paul, I was going to give you a chance, because what I was going to say was, with that, I want to ask everybody at home if you'd like next week's video to be about why I think, because I'm watching the Blacklist again at the moment, Paul, why I think they should go back and remake Ultron, just so that we can have a better version of Ultron for James Spader's perfectly cast voice, because it was
He's
perfect
such a
casting, so
he's
good.
such a he's such a good character.
Yeah.
I just don't think he was ever given enough chance.
Oh, so let us know in the comments below if you'd like to see basically a 2 hour live stream of us just saying what we just said over and over again to each other, going, yeah, oh, yeah. Um, Other than that, though, do as Paul says, do as the great Paul commands, do the liking, do the subscribing. Please let us know your comments down below. Let your friends know that we're in here and out there. I've been Patrick,
Not even Paul.
and we've been here aside. We'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.